What happens when two people collide over a shared love of culture, connection, and travel? Hey, friends, welcome back to the Unpacked Traveler. I'm your host, Rebecca Lacey, and today's episode is actually a very special one. A few months ago, I met Jen at a women's gathering, and from the moment we started talking, I knew that we had the same kind of love of travel. We both see travel not just as a getaway, but as a means to a deeper understanding, meaningful connection, and personal growth. Jen DeJong is the creator of Sicilian Encounters. It's a curated travel experience rooted in the sights, flavors, and stories of Sicily. From that seed, she launched Encounters Unlimited, which is a broader vision of travel with purpose. It's trips led by experts, wine, wellness, theater, art, and more. And in this episode, Jen is going to share how a mission trip to Kenya reshaped her approach to travel and how she's helping others experience the same kind of soul stirring connection through curated, meaningful adventures. So let's dive into her story. All right. Well, welcome, Jen, to the Unpacked Traveler. I'm glad to have you here. I really want to talk about, your travels. And, also I know that you are have a tour company, basically, where you are also taking people to Sicily. So we're going to talk about all of that during the time that you're here with us. So welcome and thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. So you told me that you've been a lifelong traveler and, like I said, a tour operator. So let's kind of start with the first, do you remember the first time that you actually just fell in love with travel?
So my family has traveled since I was very little, and it was something that was just normal. I didn't maybe realize that not all families get on airplanes and fly to other places, domestically or internationally as a family. And I just didn't, I don't think I realized how lucky or blessed I was as a child. So we would go to Colorado and go skiing. We would go to Florida and go to the beach. My parents always, they just really, I think they loved to travel, so they wanted us to, love it also.
Right.
So it was something that I don't think like I said, I don't think I realized that this wasn't maybe what everyone's experience was.
Sure.
Until I was older, and then people would say, well, I've never been on an airplane before.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I can't even count how many times I've been on an airplane,
Right.
So it wasn't like I had an aha moment, but I do remember when I was in my early 20s and I had maybe just graduated from college. And so you're at that point in your life where you're making decisions for yourself now. But I didn't have a lot of money. So those decisions are going to be probably coming from a family that traveled all the time. It was going to be more difficult for me to travel because now all of a sudden, Colorado's expensive, or, thinking about all those wonderful places I had been. And now if I'm paying for it, and I have to take vacation time, and it's, the adulting thing gets a little bit hard.
It does. It gets in the way.
Yes. But I remember having this kind of realization that it meant so much to me and travel was so important to me that I was going to make it happen. The fact that maybe I would have to ask for more vacation time, or I would have to figure out how to save money, or just be strategic and go to my parents' condo in Fort Lauderdale where I didn't have to pay for lodging, those kinds of things.
Right.
Because it was, I remember thinking, I want to always have the next trip on the books.
Yes.
I want to always have something to look forward to, to be able to just explore. And so that was in my 20s when I just thought, now that it's up to me, I still want to do this, and I'm going to. And the big one was I went to a meeting at our church in Nashville, Tennessee when my husband and I lived there, and a missionary came and he was talking about Kenya. And I mean, this is back in 2000. So, I'm in my early 20s, and the missionary tells us it's going to cost $3,000. 25 years ago,
That's a lot of money.
$3,000 was a lot of money, and I'm 23.
Right.
So that's like more than I make in a month.
Yes.
I mean, I was a grad student. I think I made $900 a month
Yeah.
going to grad school. And I came home from that meeting and I told my husband, I'm going to Kenya. And he just looked at me like sideways and said, what are you talking about? You're going to Kenya. And then the whole, well, how are you going to get the money for that? I said, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I just want to go. I'm so excited. And the way that this missionary talked about the people and the experience and the culture and all of it, I was hooked.
Right.
And so there was no question. I was going to figure it out. And so that's kind of how my adult travel started.
Okay.
Was I want to go, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it feels like on a lot of levels, like we have this kindred experience with travel. Mine was a little different though. Like we couldn't afford to fly. So we would do 2 weeks in the car. We would camp, saw national parks, things like that. So my first international travel wasn't until I was, older. And I didn't even get on an airplane until I was a senior after I graduated from high school. So,
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's that excitement and that excitement of, because I've been to Kenya also, and it's that excitement of, ooh, the world becomes so much smaller.
Yes. And the curiosity, I think, of
Yes.
how is that place going to be different than here, and what will be something I can learn. I just had this conversation with a friend the other day. I love taking the best parts of other cultures
Yeah.
and incorporating it into my life and my family as best I can.
Yeah.
Because we don't have it all figured out here.
No.
As much as people want to believe it or even just think. I think Americans, we just assume that everybody's like us and everybody lives like us and this is the way it is. It's not like this around the world.
Right.
And there's good and there's bad to that.
Yeah.
But I love being able to understand other places and do enough, digging, or even if it's on a vacation, just to learn about
Yes.
the culture, the people, the food,
Mm-hmm.
The landscape, the geography.
Yeah.
It all matters.
It does.
It all goes into who the people are in that place. And
Yeah.
for me, the biggest, I'm just a relational person, and the best vacations and the best trips I take are where I come back with new friends, or that connection,
Yeah.
community, being with people. Yes, of course, looking at a beautiful view, the mountains or the sea, that's all good. But for me, when I think of the vacations or the trips that I've been on that were the most meaningful or that I have the most memories from, it's because of the people that I went with or the people that I met there, or both.
Right.
And so just realizing I'm going deep now, but like there's so much to a place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are willing and interested in learning more about that, you really can get to know people on a different level and appreciate the experience and the location where you are even more.
Sure.
We
live in the Midwest in a very flat area, cornfields, bean fields, where as far as you can see, and the topography here is so different that even traveling throughout the United States, you realize how diverse the United States is.
Yes.
And then you realize how young the United States is
Yes.
when you go to Europe or Kenya or some of the places that have been established for so long.
Thousands and thousands of years of history, not hundreds.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's just, and then putting it all together. Now, when I've always been bad at geography, and one thing that becoming a travel agent has done for me is to really learn geography, because then I know, where I'm sending people. But I remember my experience with Kenya was, I couldn't even tell you I could tell you where it is on a map, kind of, sort of. But I don't really know where it is in relation to other things. So I got on and Googled it and was like, oh, that's where we're going.
Yes.
Have you done that before?
I have done that with places I haven't been to.
Yeah.
But usually, the first time I went to Kenya, I'm sure I didn't know where it was in Africa.
Right.
I knew it was in Africa.
Right,
But
right.
Africa is a very large
It
continent.
certainly is.
And I don't even know if I would have been able to say it was East Africa.
Right.
Right. And now, I mean, if I looked at the continent of Africa, there's a lot of countries I wouldn't be able to name.
Oh yeah, me
There's,
too. Yeah.
So there are places like in the Middle East, just because of what all that's been going on
Yes.
recently, globally. I'll kind of go look at a map and try to get a sense of where is that in the world.
Right.
I do it sometimes with Sicily because I go to Sicily a lot. I'll look at kind of where is Sicily in relation to other places that people are interested or excited about going
Sure.
to, like Malta and Greece.
Right.
Because there's sometimes people will say, oh well, maybe we'll go to one of those other places and then hop over to Sicily. And yes, it's possible, but
Right.
it's really not as close or convenient as people think, or it's airplanes or it's ferry boats. And so anyway, I'll do a little bit of that, just kind of.
Or train rides. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, when I send people to Europe, like, I really had to learn the Europe because I just recently had people that wanted to do Rome, London, Edinburgh, and Dublin.
Oh, those are not close to each other.
No, they are not. They are not.
And sometimes I think it's also interesting because people will say, I have 7 days.
Yes.
And they want to go to Rome, London, Edinburgh, and Dublin.
And they don't realize that you got to get on 2 airplanes, a train ride. Yes.
So you're going to be living out of a suitcase, and every night you're going to be in a hotel.
Exactly.
Different hotel. So you're going to do Rome in one day, you're going to do London. Yeah.
Right.
But you're right. If you don't, it's important to kind of know those types of things.
It is. And if people, I mean, thankfully this client, they listened and they had, I think it was 15 days. So
that's much better.
Yeah, much better. I was like, if you're going to go that far, you're going to need 15 days. But I digress. So you talked about your mission trip a little bit, and then, tell me one lesson. We've been talking about how travel teaches us lessons, if you let it, because, and I've never been this kind of traveler where you just go for leisure and I just go lay on the beach, because I feel like I need to learn and know, if that's the kind of travel that you want to do, great, that's for you, but that's not for me. I usually go and we experience the area, whether that's hiking, whether that's eating locally, attending a festival or whatever. So tell me a lesson, maybe 1 or 2 lessons that you feel like you have learned specifically when you've been traveling.
Yeah. And before I answer what I've learned, I would say that someone who goes on a beach and is just doing leisure, it's possible to learn something about themselves.
Absolutely.
We live in such a crazy, busy, hectic world here.
Yes.
And we don't stop.
Yes.
So to just stop might be what they need, right?
Yes.
And to be able to and maybe that's what they learn. But I get what you're saying. I tend to not be the kind of traveler that just goes somewhere for a week and sits and does,
I might have a day or 2 of that where we say, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Let's just walk down on the beach.
But then you want to go explore.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So for me, a big lesson that I learned in Kenya, and that trip was so much about culture and getting to know the people. So it was easy to learn, right?
Yes.
Because it's a very different culture. It's a very different place.
It is.
But my biggest, I would say, lesson coming back from that trip, and I've been back to Kenya many times, is just this sense of the joy that you can have in simplicity and hardship.
Yes.
That there is, and I'm not saying people don't have hardship here. I know we have troubles here. People go through really, really hard things, devastating things all over the world. But in Kenya, the norm, kind of the baseline of life is we're kind of in survival mode all the time. I mean, that the majority of the people there are trying to make enough money to eat that day.
Yes.
And we're not putting money in a savings account. We're not thinking about a vacation. They're not going anywhere. They're not leaving.
Right.
Life there is life there.
Yes.
And it's amazing that they're so joyful and content and grateful, and they have the spirit about them.
Yes.
And you come back and you're like, oh man, America, we're grumpy people, compared to Kenyans.
Yeah.
But we think we have it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because we have electricity, we have running water, we have carpeted floors, there's no bugs. I mean, we're very comfortable materially. and we think that that's what we need and what we want. But then you go to a place like Kenya where they don't have any of that. And do you want to
Go
start?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
So you go to a place like... What do you hear?
He's like, I want to go upstairs. Are you going to do something with him?
Yeah. Just
Just
continue.
keep going. Okay, go ahead.
So when you go to a place like Kenya and you realize they don't have any of those things materially that we have, those comforts that we think are so important, that we think is going to make us happy or make us feel better, and they don't have any of that. And I just really believe that they're more content in their life in some ways. They have a joy that it's hard to capture here. And that when I came back, that was one of those moments where I thought, what are we doing? What is life about? Because
Right.
they have their family, hopefully, and they have the basic necessities, and they're still so grateful for things and just full of this spirit.
They're hospitable and willing
Yes,
to
and
share what they have with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was they say there is such thing as reverse culture shock. And when you go to a place that's very different culturally than your own, it does happen. And, depending on how long you're there and what you've experienced. But I think one of the, for me, a reverse culture shock was kind of the thing that I not struggled with, but just wrestled with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I need to change in my life to feel and experience that joy that they have?
Sure.
Because I mean, it's kind of infectious, when you're in a place
It is.
that you're around a vibe or a group of people that all have something that you didn't know could exist in that way. You want to be a part of it. You want to feel that too. And so coming back, I used to say, or I still say, when I come back from Kenya, I have Xenia. It's my Xenia. I feel a sense of Zen.
Right.
My anxiety has been lowered, and I'm calm in a way that I'm not calm here, and it lasts about 2 weeks, maybe
Right.
one, and then it's back to, the hustle, the bustle, the hurry, the busy. Everybody's overcommitted and overscheduled, and back to that life. And I think we sometimes I think in America we don't even realize how much we have created things in our society, in our world, that we think are the right thing or the acceptable thing for ourselves and for our kids. And unless you move out of that space, unless you remove yourself from that, you don't realize that it could be another way.
Right. Right. I kind of had that same experience in Kenya, but I also had a little bit of, I grew up with that a lot. So I know what it's like to live, paycheck to paycheck, basically, as a kid. But I know, and my parents did 25 years of taking people to Mexico on mission trips,
Okay.
where they would drive across the border. They
Yes.
would go through Eagle Pass, Texas. They would end up in Chamaquero, and so I saw that a lot. So when I went to Kenya, I think the thing for me was we actually walked through the slums of Kenya. And I don't know if you did that or not. We were in Mathare Valley, and there was a girl there that was 21, and she was taking care of her two young, they're living without electricity, no running water, things like that. And, that really kind of got me, because she was my daughter's age at the
Right.
time.
Oh,
And I was like,
I get
wow,
it.
that really hits home. But I brought back with me from those mission trips that it wasn't about taking our culture to them and our ideas to them. It was about going and learning how to have a relationship with them. What do you need from us? Asking them those questions. And I feel like we do those mission trips, which are always a little different than your vacations,
Yes,
They
are.
But so, for example, I don't know if there's a way to take that if you're on vacation. Because I remember when I went to Portugal last year, what I really wanted to do was like connect with the people there. So we ate at local restaurants and, things like that. And I guess that's really, that's really about the only way that you can kind of connect is just to sit and talk with people.
Well, so interesting that you say that because volunteer service work has always been a part of my adult life. And
Right.
I've been trying to figure out how I can do that in Sicily. And I'm not saying that I'm going to, always incorporate it. If people want to do something, I
Right.
think I've found ways. So, for example, this is just something small, but there is a stray dog problem in Sicily.
Okay.
And people who are dog lovers, it always breaks their heart when they see these dogs and,
Right.
they want to help. And so I found a rescue and I went to visit it this last trip. And I asked her, do you take volunteers? She said, absolutely. I said, well, what would we do? And so I figured it out that if a group of people that are on a trip on vacation wanted to spend 2 or 3 hours at the rescue for the animals, for the dogs, she said, I would absolutely love it. And she has 150 dogs at this place.
Oh,
but
wow.
the thing that was so, again, it's different than here. And so I think it could be a lovely experience because the dogs there have their own yards. She's created these big, long runs.
Oh,
so
nice.
she's got them in packs, and she knows which dogs get along with each other. So
Nice.
5 or 6 dogs each have a big, long yard. They have a little house for shelter. They've got a little swimming pool. And she has puppies that are up in another area, and so you can go and play with the puppies. It was just, it's hard as a dog lover. Sometimes it's hard for me to go to the animal shelters because it just breaks your heart, right?
Yes.
And I was pleasantly surprised and just so amazed that I walked away from this dog shelter feeling so great about the fact that these dogs had such an amazing life because the adult dogs are not going to get adopted. This is where they're going to live. But they're living their best life. They're running around. They're with other dogs. They've got people
Right.
there every day. And so that is my idea that I haven't implemented yet, but I'm
Nice.
going to include it in the options for people of, if you love dogs and you want to just help the way you can help, you can donate to her. You can go and volunteer your time. Happy to share more about it. Because again, that's part of the experience. When you go to
Yeah.
Sicily, you're going to see stray dogs. You're going to see them.
Right.
It's the reality. I can't not, I can't put you in a place where you're not going to be exposed to the hard stuff.
Right.
But there are ways then, if you want to be a part of the solution. And I think that is because in Sicily, I know so many people, there are other ways that I could probably find ways to help in the community. Now, obviously, when you're talking about places that you haven't been before, I think you're right. Going to dinners in local places, getting to know the people is a great way to connect. But I do wonder, what if you just had a half day where you just, you called the city hall or you called leaders and said, we're here, what can we do? Pick up trash, simple things. And not everybody wants to do that on vacation, I get it. But I have wondered if there's a way to just put a little bit of
Yeah.
that volunteer into your trip.
That brings me back, and then I want to come back and talk about Sicily for a minute. It brings me back to the days when I was a Girl Scout leader, and the girls worked really hard. They wanted to go to the Mall of America. So they worked really hard selling the cookies and, doing extra things so that we could get them to the Mall of America. Well, I said, we can't just go shopping, right? We are a Girl Scout group and we really need to, do some kind of volunteer work while we're there. So we went into this place called The Bridge. And I don't know if it still exists or not, but it was a halfway shelter or halfway home for kids who had run away.
Okay.
And of course, we can't interact with the kids. But we went and we planted flowers in the pots for them and just sort of straightened up around the area. And I just think those are good lessons, even when we're on vacation, to teach our kids.
Right.
That we can come here and we can do things.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
let's circle back for a minute to Sicily. Let's talk about because this is what fascinated me when we first met. And, I mentioned I was a travel agent, and then we just got talking about this. You have a tour company, basically. Chief, quit. Okay. You have a tour company, basically, that you take people to Sicily. So I'm just going to let you talk about that and tell me how that works, how you got started.
Yep.
And
So my mom was born in Montevago,
Okay.
which is this tiny little village, and then her family moved to America when she was 7. And so I didn't really understand that why we were different or how we were different, but I knew we were different. Going to my grandpa's house on weekends, and there was a smell, really great smells, and he had a garden. His entire backyard was a garden.
Okay.
Very little grass. The only grass he had was for the rabbits that he had, and the rabbits that he had were for dinner on Sundays. So we had a mama and a daddy rabbit that never my sister and I would play with the mama and the daddy because we knew they weren't going to die.
Yeah.
But we would not get attached to the babies because we knew that was dinner. I mean, these are things that not normal here, right? But we grew up with that kind of culture that I didn't really understand. And then I got to go when I was 12 with my mom and my grandpa and my whole family. And because my mom's dad, he's one of 8 siblings, and he's the only one that left. So all of my mom's aunts and uncles, first cousins on my dad or my grandpa's side are still there. So imagine, like, the entire family is still there. And so when we used to go, it was this huge homecoming, and they just were so happy to see my grandpa and the whole family, and they're so incredibly generous. The people, all Sicilians, are just so hospitable, and they can't do enough for you, and you're going to eat until you pop, and they just love to see you happy.
Right.
They love to see you enjoying their food and their place. And so, over the years, I would go maybe every 5 years. We went to a wedding in 2019, and I hadn't been since, I don't know, 2009, maybe 10 years. So it wasn't like I was going all the time, but these were experiences that were important to us, and we would try to make it happen. But when I got back from the wedding in 2019, at the time I was working as a church consultant, and it was my job to plan incentive trips for our sales team. And I came back and I said to my boss, "You want to wow our team? I'll take them to my mom's hometown in Sicily, and it's going to blow their socks off. It's going to cost less than any cruise, any vacation in America, and it's going to be authentic. I mean, I'm taking you to this tiny little village. No one speaks English, and it's going to be the best week of your life." And my boss said, "Let's do it." So in December of 2019, right before COVID, I took 20 people, just because that was, what he thought it would be a great idea. And I'm like, okay, we'll go to Montevago. And so we did. When we got back from that trip, they had such a great time. He said, we're going to do that again. Then COVID happened, so we had to wait a couple of years. And at that point, I had left the company, and he reached out to me and he said, "We want to pay you to do that trip again." So then in April of 2022, I took 20 more people
okay.
from that company. And then I'm in a women's group called Illinois Women in Leadership. And I was talking to some of the women and some of my friends in that group about this trip I was getting to do. And they said, "Well, we want to go too." And so I said, "Well, you know what? You come the week after. I'll just do the same thing. I'll stay, and we'll do the same itinerary. It'll be easy for me." So then I had women from Springfield the week after the 20. And then we got back from that trip, and more women from Iowa wanted to go. And I thought, wait a minute, this is not my norm. I don't go to Sicily every 3 months. I go to Sicily every 5 years. But
Right.
But people want to go, and they want me to take them. So that's really how it started. I recognized after those trips, when I was just doing it, I did it as a volunteer for Iowa. I just said, "Yeah, I'll take you, and I'll pay my way for that week." So then I thought, no, I think I don't want to pay my way anymore.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
something to this.
Exactly.
I speak the language. I speak Italian. There's not a lot of people that speak English there, so it's not a touristy place.
Right.
There are no trains that go there. It's hard to navigate. If you're an American tourist, you are not going to end up where I am, unless you're just very adventuresome and want to really
Right.
explore. So that's what made it so special and so different.
Right.
And so, I started a business 3 years ago, Sicilian Encounters. And discover Sicily like a local, because I'm literally taking you to this village of 2,500 people, and you just see how life is there. So things like the retired men sit at the coffee shop every morning and they try to solve the world's problems, and it's
Right.
just it's very authentic. And then you eat really well, and there are so many hidden gems. It's a place that has so much history. There are towns there that are 800 BC, 10th century BC, and Greek temples 25 minutes away.
Right.
You're on an island, so you're surrounded by water and beaches. It's an incredible place. And then to think we're in a spot that is just basically unknown. The southwest part of Sicily is the least touristy part of the island. So when you come with me, there's no lines, there's no, there's no other Americans there. You are the guests of this town, basically. And when people leave, it's always amazing to me, but it's not, though, because my friends and family there are just so incredible. People leave with new friends because they feel they don't even speak the language, right?
Right.
But they feel so connected to the people there, to the Sicilians, because of the generosity, because of their hospitality, and they see how much it means to the Sicilians that they're enjoying it. And so, all these people now that have been on my trips, a lot of them are Facebook friends with my family and my friends there.
Right.
People, I mean, all the time I'll see people wishing people happy birthday on Facebook, and it's just a really cool thing that I feel like I've been able to create this connection from this town. I mean, it's not just Springfield. I do have clients from other places, but a lot of
Right.
people are from Springfield, Illinois. And so now in Montavago knows where Springfield, Illinois is because
Yes,
of this.
right.
And there's little Abraham Lincoln stickers at the
Yeah.
coffee shop
Yes.
or at the pizza place. And,
Right.
it's just it's a connection that we've created.
Yes.
And it's just, it's amazing for me because my family is never going to come here. My Sicilian family will never come here. They don't have passports. They can't afford it. And they're just, it's not in their mentality. They're on the island, and that's where they are.
Yeah.
But I've been able to bring America to them. So they're now getting to see America in a way that they wouldn't have ever seen it, through the people.
Yes.
Understanding a bit more about my life here because I'm bringing people there.
Well, and that's something that you don't necessarily think about either. It's like we're going over there, but people are just as fascinated by how our lives are
Yes,
back here.
They are. And I tell people, so I'll go maybe 2 or 3 days ahead of a group sometimes, and I'll go to the coffee shop and hang out, just be with my friends. And it's the regulars that are there. And then when the Americans come to town, the coffee shop gets busier because they're curious and they just want to get to know us.
Right.
And I love it. And
Yes.
so there is that sense of curiosity and wanting to learn more about us and get to know us.
Yes.
It's both ways. I mean, because people going with me, obviously they know that they're going to a place where it's not going to be touristy and no one's going to speak English, and they're going to need to rely on me a bit more than if they were in a bigger city like Palermo even. But it's both ways. It's really cool. And I think that it's still vacation, right?
Yes,
It's
of course.
vacation, but with a deeper element of connection.
Yes.
And that's what I love about it. And it's just amazing to me. I pinch myself thinking that this is how, I never would have thought that this would be what I would be doing.
So you have a house
I do.
in Sicily.
Yes.
And I know you sent me pictures. So talk about, I don't know what's up there, but talk about, I don't know where you want to start with the pictures that you sent me, but he's putting them up there for you.
So yes, I bought a house. This photo right here it's on the rooftop. It's 3 stories.
Okay.
And we converted some of the rooms in it to bedrooms. It was, I think, a 4-bedroom house, and now we've made it an 8-bedroom house.
Okay.
So I can sleep up to 15 people. And my big thing was we had good lodging options, but we didn't have control over all of the things around the lodging. So again, Americans are not maybe used to or wouldn't expect that you'd run out of water, that you would not have electricity, that the towels would be scratchy, that the beds would be uncomfortable. Those are all things that when you go to Europe, you're just not guaranteed that it's going to be like the Hilton. You know?
Exactly.
So I just decided this is the best way that I can control that experience and give Americans the most American experience they can have
Right.
in a home. So yes, the electricity trips, but we click it back on and it's fine. Yes, we run out of water, but I've come up with a really creative solution. My friend 3 doors down has a coffee shop, and he has a bigger water tank than I do, because in Sicily they have water tanks on the roof.
Okay.
And the city comes and fills it once a day, and that's it. It's like when you run out, you run out, and you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. But when you are American and you don't understand that there is a tank on the roof that's going to go down, and you're doing laundry and you're running the dishwasher and you're taking 20-minute showers and functioning the way you function in America, that the water goes down. And again, when you've got 10 or 15 people in a house, those 2 tanks on the roof are not enough. So we put a line from Pasquale's water tank to mine and bought a motor. And then when we run out of water, he opens up the line, turns on the motor, and he pushes water to my house. And so these are the things that, a Sicilian probably would be like, no, we're just out of water. Just deal with it and don't take a shower till tomorrow.
Right.
But I'm saying, and this happened to me, we had a situation where I was with a group before I had the house, and we ran out of water. And the owner of the house just said, yeah, we'll get more tomorrow. And I thought, oh, this is not going to be great for my people.
So when did you buy this house then?
A little over a year ago, May of 2024.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is where you take people then?
Yes.
You don't have them stay in any other homes?
I mean, if people want to explore the island a little bit more, then obviously they wouldn't stay there. But this is home base for the tours that I do in Southwest and Western Sicily.
Okay.
My house is home base.
Okay.
And then if I need overflow, I have other options.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's been it's a little bit of a headache having a house on the other side of the world, but it's also been really great to have, like I said, for people to feel like it's comfortable, and my towels aren't scratchy and the beds are not uncomfortable.
Right. Right. Kind of providing some of that American experience
Yes.
for them still.
Yes, a little bit more comfort, just to make it a bit easier to adjust, because it's an adjustment. I mean, it is a very different culture.
Yes. Yes. So do you have any tours or anybody that you're taking that's coming up?
Yes, I have actually a group. Well, I have 3 little groups. So I have a couple, and then another couple separate, and then 6 women that are all going the same week.
Okay.
And so we're going to be leaving in a couple of weeks. And so for the couple, I've hired a driver who speaks English, and I've organized everything for them. We'll see him at breakfast, and maybe we'll share some dinners together. But I'm really going with the 6 women. So I'll be their tour guide, translator, and be with them for the week. And then I do have other groups going later this fall that I'm not going to be with. So you have the option of going alone, and I organize everything and I set up everything for you.
Okay.
Or you can have me along as, the person that just tells you all the stories about, my family and the history and that kind of thing.
Right,
So-
right. So what are some of the experiences if you send people on a trip like this or you take them? What are some of the experiences that they like to do?
Yeah, so I have a list actually that I let people choose from. It's
Okay.
To me, I'm sure it's similar for you. It's like a puzzle. So I need to know what your puzzle pieces are.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it all together for you. So
Right.
we have, experiences that are heavy on history and culture. And I always encourage people. So my mom's town was destroyed by an earthquake in 1968, and there were 13 towns in the whole area that were just completely wiped out. It was really awful. Thousands of people were misplaced. Hundreds of people died. My great grandmother was one that died. Her house collapsed on her, and so that's a huge part of the history of that town. And if you go to Montevago, when you first pull in, you might think, where are we and what is Jen doing? Where has she brought us? Because the outside of the buildings are pretty worn down and it just looks drab and you don't see a lot of people. And so first impressions are not great, right? But then you get to learn the history and you understand that this town has been recovering basically for the last however many years, because they didn't have a lot to begin with, and then they had this earthquake, and they were relying on the government to kind of fund the rebuild. So I always take people to Old Town, which is they took the town and they just moved it next door. So we have Old Town where the ruins are, and then we have New Town where they built. And the church where my mom was baptized and where my grandparents were married is still there. And they're trying to like build it back up a little bit so that you can get a sense of what life was like. But it's interesting because life in the 60s in Sicily was still very simple and kind of the old way. You would see donkeys on the street, and it was not like the 60s here. And so then the earthquake kind of forced them to kind of become more modern.
Okay.
So it's like this moment in time of how things shifted for that community. So that's long story to say there's a lot of history locally, but then there's also the, Greek temples and churches and castles and palaces. So people who are interested in history, that's big. Water stuff is huge. Going to the beach, going to the pool, going on a
Right.
boat. If you're in summer, a lot of people love to do water things.
Right. Speaking of water, did you gave me a couple of pictures of you at the beach?
Yes.
So where was that?
There's so many amazing places. The beaches, they're amazing. So this picture is from the Turkish Steps, which is this rock formation, natural rock formation on the side of a cliff. And it has a beach on either side of it. And it's maybe an hour drive from where I am. Then it's beaches all around. The beach
Right.
closest to us is about 25, 30 minutes away, called Menfi or Portopalo. And so that's, we go there often. So this picture is me at the beach in Portopalo. It's the quickest, ride is to that beach. And that's such a cool ride because you're up in the hills and then you kind of go down into the valley. And then when you come back up, you can see the water, but most people don't recognize it's the water because the sky is so blue and the water is so blue and it's the same color almost. And so I literally had somebody argue with me about it the last time I was there. I'm like, look, guys, there's the sea. And they don't see it. They don't see it. They think it's just mountains and sky, but it's really the water.
Yes.
And it's this really, I've never seen that anywhere else, but I think because there's like a little bit of a haze on the water, it blends into the sky and you don't realize it until you get close, but it's a really cool view. Anyway, there's just a lot of great spots. And then another spot that I love is on the west side, Trapani. It's on the coast, and San Vito lo Capo is a little bit further up on the northwest side. They're just really, San Vito lo Capo is more popular and more touristy, but it's just gorgeous. You think you're in the Caribbean. Very clear waters, big, land formations, a lot of rock, and it's just a really beautiful place. And then Favignana is an island off of the coast of Trapani. So you take a ferry boat over, and it's this tiny little island, and that place is also gorgeous. This is a picture from on top. It's called, this is one of the beaches. I can't remember the name of it, but it's this, you have to kind of climb down a bunch of stairs to go down to the beach, and it's a little bit rocky, but the view from the top is just incredible. And so, yeah, there's so many places to explore.
Right.
And most people, I think, if you're going in summer, you're going to go on the boat, you're going to go to the beach, or you're going to go to the pool. You're going to do something water related.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
and then, of course, food and wine, we can't forget.
of course not.
There's so many great wines in Sicily. Oh, my goodness. So you have to go to a vineyard. I tell people, even if you don't drink wine, you really should go to a vineyard, because wine tastings in Sicily is not like wine tastings here. You're going to get a full meal. You're going to eat delicious Sicilian local food, and they're going to put it paired with wine. So if you don't want to drink the wine, that's fine. You can drink something else, but you still get to enjoy the food that they think is, from their region, that they think is best, that goes best with their wine. So I'd like to take people to places that they're family owned. Most of the places I take people are smaller production. I do have one that's like the largest producer, that in case if you want to see what mass production looks like in Sicily, then we go there. But yeah, there's cooking classes. You can learn how to make pizza. You can learn how to make pasta. You can learn how to make cannolis. There's just all the things that you will eat. You could have a cooking class on, basically.
Sure.
So those are fun. Yeah, there's really there's too much. You can't do it all, right? The list of activities that I have, you're not going to be able to do it all.
Right.
Here's the one that's kind of the wild card that I didn't expect, but a lot of my people like to get tattoos in Sicily. I don't have a tattoo. I never would have thought that that would be part of the itinerary. But I'm telling you what, Rebecca, there's about 40, 45 people walking around town with a tattoo on their arm or their leg or their shoulder. And a lot of them get the same saying, tutto bene, which means all good. It's all good. And so, because by the end of the week, they are taking on that mentality, that vibe that we talked about earlier.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And they're like, yes, tutto bene, everything is all good. People in Sicily will say, when it's not tutto bene, it's still tutto bene, right? Like everything's all good. And
That's very interesting because I
Yes.
don't have a tattoo. I don't understand the tattoo culture.
I will say I didn't. I'd never been in a tattoo parlor. And now I go to a tattoo parlor all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a tattoo parlor before, but I still don't get it.
Yeah, but I think for them, it's like they want that permanent reminder
Yeah.
of what this feels like. Again, it's that we don't have that here as a
Yes.
community, as a group of people.
Right.
And so it's like their way of saying, I'm taking this with me. And I'm gonna hold on to this.
Yeah, that makes
So
complete sense.
It's just a really cool thing. When you say hi to people in Sicily, and this is part of why you start to hear it over and over and over, and then they get the vibe. When you ask someone how they're doing, you say, tutto bene? Is it all good? Yes, it's all good. And so that's a very common way to just have a quick little check-in. Like
Okay.
instead of saying, how are you?
Uh-huh.
They'll say, tutto bene? Is it all good? So it's just a cool thing. I never would have thought that would be an activity, but it's on the activity list now. And
Well, that's interesting.
people love it. And I have a great tattooed artist there. He's so good to us, and he can get me in pretty much anytime I ask. So
I mean, I guess it makes sense. The tattoos are so popular now,
Yeah.
and that even people go on cruises and they get them on the cruise ships, or they'll go.
it's an experience.
It
It's
is.
a part of the
It
part
is.
of the
Yeah.
vacation. And the place I take them is in a town that I love. So then the other thing, the other activities is exploring towns, a lot of historic towns. So Shaka is this town it's a seaport town. It's known for red coral jewelry, ceramics, and
Okay.
really great fish. People,
Okay.
the men are bringing the fish off of the sea every day, and then you go to dinner that night and you see the fish in the case, and you pick which fish you want to eat for dinner that has been caught that day. And that is a really cool town. Ceramics everywhere, tiled steps and benches and vases, and just a lot of art. It's a very art centric town. So it works great. You go get your tattoo, and then we walk around Shaka and explore, and you get to see, what that town is like. Mazzara del Vallo is another town that it's Arabic. It has a kasbah, and so you kind of quickly are in this area that feels like you're no longer in Sicily, and now maybe you're in another world or another country. Narrow streets and Arabic on the walls, and it's just like in the middle of Sicily, 45 minutes from my house. So it's fun to take people to places because every day is just a little bit different.
Yes.
And every day you're learning something or you're exploring something new, and very much history, whether you want history or not,
Yes. So do you experience people who are afraid to do this?
I think there are people who are hesitant and nervous and just don't know what to expect. And so I think if you're afraid, like truly afraid, you're not going to contact me, because I think I've
Yes.
done an okay job explaining that we're not going to the normal places.
Right.
People are not going to call me if they want to do the typical Rome, Florence, Venice, Palermo, Taormina.
Right.
In Sicily, people that know Sicily but don't know the whole island, they know Palermo, they know Mount Etna, they probably know Taormina because of White Lotus. So, I mean, that's a whole different experience. And I'm not saying it's bad, but that's the more typical tourist experience.
Right.
So if you're contacting me, you're probably already at a place where you're good with maybe something that's off the beaten path.
There's a curiosity.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But I mean, I definitely have people that they're a little bit hesitant and nervous and have a lot of questions. And But no, I think all of my guests, all of my travel guests have been amazing. You know, I really, I don't know. Maybe it's because they already know before they go what they're getting themselves into.
Sure.
I
And
had
if
a
you
group
do a
in,
good job of explaining it,
yeah,
yes.
I had a group in March. And at the end of the trip, they said, you should have an application process, Jen, because this trip is not for everybody. And I said, well, I kind of want people to figure that out on their own. I don't feel like I should tell you can't do this trip.
Right,
You know?
right. I mean,
So,
when people contact me, I have a quick form that they fill out, but then I start asking them questions because
exactly.
maybe they think that this is what they want, but from my experience, that's probably not what they
Right.
want.
Right.
So if you're like me, you're going to be upfront with them and say, that's not what this experience is.
Exactly.
You're welcome,
Yes.
but that's not what this
Exactly.
experience
And
is.
I do try really hard to communicate to people. You know, we might run out of water. Mm-hmm. You know, the electricity might get tripped.
Right.
It might just not go the way we think. I can do all the planning in the world, and you know, somebody might decide to be closed that
Yeah,
day,
right.
because that's just how they are. So
Sure.
I try really hard to prepare people ahead of time, that not to expect it to be like going to Disney World where everything is going to be on time and
Right.
very organized, and
Right.
it's just we're in another world, we're in another country, and it's okay, tutto bene,
Right.
and it's all an experience. So I think by the time they get there, most people they're fine, you know.
So what is a typical group size? Like, what's your average group size?
I would say the average is probably 6 to 8.
Okay.
I will go up to 20, and I have had a few groups now of 20. But I also will do, like, if a couple wants to go, I've got, you know, this couple going on their own. So I'll do smaller groups. It's really just whatever. It's a custom private experience. So whatever size group you want, from 1 to 20
Okay.
is really what I'm willing to do.
Okay.
And I prefer all inclusive, but I can also do, people might want to just have more flexibility, and maybe they want to cook and they don't want to go out to eat every night. So I can do packages that are not all inclusive.
Okay.
But most people, I think, it seems like most people like the all inclusive idea. And what I mean by all inclusive, it's not the typical you're staying
No,
at one
not
place.
your Caribbean all inclusive, right?
I'm letting you pick off the menu at the restaurant, and it's a little bit of a gamble for me, right? It's a little bit of a risk, but I kind of I know the menus and I know the prices, and so
Yeah.
I guess how much I think you're going to spend. Or if it's a larger group of 20, then we'll do a prefix, you know, we'll do a menu
Right.
that's set, and then it's just, I know what the price is. But people really appreciate that, because then you just don't have to worry. You don't have to
Sure.
bring a ton of cash with you because everything's paid for.
Right.
You're just really bringing cash for tips, and if you want souvenirs, and everything else is just handled. So,
Well, it sounds like you have a well thought out and adapted plan that just sort of just came about.
organically.
Yes.
Which
And-
is kind of how Sicily is. So I guess that makes sense.
Right, right. So I kind of want to wrap it up with this. We talked a little bit about the people who, you know, like the beach experience or the all-inclusive or the Caribbean and just want to go lay on the beach for 8 days or whatever. And sometimes, especially I think when you have a very hectic job, that's what you need to get away from things. And I think that there's a place for that. But what would you say to the people who like to constantly do the same thing, go to the same places, or the people who might be a little anxious about, I think that people who fear traveling probably are not even going to consider it.
Yes. I mean,
But-
because you've got people who are afraid to even get on that long haul flight.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
There's obstacle number one. I can't be on a plane for 9.5 hours. How am I going to do that? So I think you've got to,
Yes.
it's a select group of people from the beginning who are going to even consider this.
And 9.5 hours is nothing.
No, and that's only one of the flights, but I'm just saying.
I know.
It's a long journey.
I did 2 8-hour flights to Kenya.
Of course,
you
yeah.
know?
It is a long journey.
Yes.
And I do tell people, it's hard to get there, but to me, it's worth it. I mean,
Right.
I go there 3 times a year now, and it's hard, but it's so worth it once you're there.
So what would you encourage people who maybe to get out of their comfort zone? How
Yeah.
Like, I really always I like to talk to people about the things that you learn about yourself.
Right.
And again, laying on the beach, sometimes you're just like,
That's what
I
you
can,
need.
yeah.
Right.
But what is one thing that you would say to
So I
people?
think I would say, if you're willing to go outside your comfort zone a little bit or try something a little bit different, this is a life-changing type of trip. And I say that with confidence because I've seen it in so many people now. People walk out of the coffee shop on the last day in tears. They literally cry when they have to say goodbye to Pasquale. Pasquale is the coffee shop owner, and he's one of my dear friends. But you know, when you walk in the first day and you order your coffee, the next day he's going to remember what you ordered, and he's going to ask you if that's what you want again. I mean,
Nice.
it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yes.
You immediately become a part of the family and the culture and the community there.
Right.
And so that's a kind of a pleasant surprise that most people are not expecting and not even knowing they needed.
Right.
But they leave feeling connected to this place, feeling like they have a home somewhere else now. And I am so surprised at how many return clients I've already gotten.
That's amazing.
People want to go back. They want to go back to that place. They want to be there more. It becomes one of those things where you think it's a bucket list, check it off and move on.
Right.
And then, oh no, I'm going back to Sicily. I got to go see Pasquale. I got to go have my coffee at the coffee shop with the retired men.
That's nice.
You know? And so I
Yeah.
think I would say to people, if you feel like you're missing something, like if there's a void in you or an unsettledness or you're struggling, you know, with life here or with stress or with something. I mean, this is not a great marketing ploy maybe for travel in general. Like, I don't know that we would go into this, like, but I really believe this is one of those trips where you become more centered in what really matters. Family, relationships, enjoying each other's company is at the core of what we do. And, you know, for example, when you go to dinner there, it's 3 to 4 hours. And when I always tell people, like, we eat late. The restaurant's open at 7:30. The earliest I can get you to dinner is 7:30. And we will be there till 10:30. And I'm, you know, there are some things that this is not fast dining. We are going to do this. Some
Right.
people, that's something they get nervous about. Well, I go to bed at 9:00. I said, don't worry. You will adjust. And it's always the case that we get to the end of dinner and they're like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize it was 3 hours.
Yeah, because
And
I don't think that we do enough of that in the United States.
Because we're always in a hurry.
Yes.
And even our restaurants are kicking us out. You can only have the table for 90 minutes.
Right.
In Sicily, they're not even going to give you the check unless you ask for it.
Yes.
They are not going to make you leave. We
Yes.
get kicked out of places here. They're going to let you stay as long as you want.
Right.
So there's things like that I think it's hard to explain it and it's hard for people to grasp it until they're there. But then when they're there and when they're ready to leave, there is this kind of emotion that takes over. And it's a really, a deep connection that people feel. They have a saying, you cry 3 times when you visit Sicily. You cry when you arrive because it's so gorgeous. like
Right.
flying in. You cry when you leave and you cry when you get on the scale.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, do you have a presence on the internet? Do you have a website? Do you have social media? Where can people find you? I'll put the
Yes.
link in the when I put this up on the
Yes. Sicilianencounters.com is the
Okay.
website.
Okay.
And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram with that same handle, Sicilian Encounters. And
Okay.
those are, Facebook and Instagram is where I try to give people a sense of what life is like there and
Right.
where you might visit. And,
Right.
You know, I'm just kind of doing a little bit of everything. Like I show food, I show cities, I show people, you know, I'm just trying to make it more than just here's what the trip looks like, but no, this is what life looks like there. Because that's what it is. You're going and you're plopping yourself in life there for however long you can.
Amazing. Well, Jen, thank you so much for joining me today. I have been fascinated that you do this, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it. And I will certainly put your information up so that people can reach out to
Thank
you.
you.
But
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thanks for joining me
Yeah,
today.
of course.
Okay, we're done. Are you B-rolling it?
Yeah.
So as we were talking, I realized I have pictures of all these things.